Hey up everybody and welcome back. Right, well, we're on YamBSAki today, so let me give you a quick update on last week. Everybody seemed to be pleased to get an update on the Henderson. I haven't had a chance to go to steam shops yet, so I don't know what's going to happen about the valves and stuff. I will let you know as the video progresses, because this is Tuesday. Yesterday I was out landscaping because it was a nice day. Alright, the tractor is out and about. Got the new pump for it, put it on, put the filter on, everything was fine. One interesting thing though, if any of you are diesel fitters, diesel mechanics, I put it on, set the pump going, filled the filter up, everything, so I connected up to the injectors. Broke the connection to the injector to bleed it, ran the pump and ran the pump and ran the pump and ran the pump, and nothing came out the injector, so I thought let me try the other one, because as I mentioned it's a V-twin. Opened that up, made sure they were nice and loose, and ran the pump and ran the pump and ran the pump, and nothing came out the injectors, or at least I couldn't bleed at them. So I tightened them up and then just tried it, and the tractor started straight away and ran perfectly, you know. No little hiccups as air got through or anything like that, so I was a little perplexed by that, and I broke the joint right where the fuel line went onto the top of the injector. So I don't know what modern injectors are like, but anyway, it's all done and out of the way, so we can get on with this. So what we're going to do today, the new / used gear change thing came with decent splines on the end. Of course, it turns out now that the gear change lever for this is completely shot, so I'm going to have to buy one of those. But we have a couple of little things to do on this. We're going to put that in, connect it all up. We've got the detent to put in. Interesting thing I noticed, and perhaps it's because the drum system of moving the forks for the gear change is so much better than the sort of cam system, that the detent, there's only one depression in neutral, whereas you know with the cam you've got one for every gear. You know, your cam, say like a BSA cam, pivots here like that, it's got the little cutouts there for the other part to catch in as it goes like that. And in the end, it's got depressions for the spring at the back to click into to hold it in gear, each one. So there's like 5 depressions, one for neutral and then, well no, 4 I guess. One for neutral and then one in between each of the gears. But the drum doesn't, it only has one, just to locate it when it's in neutral. So anyway, we'll put those couple of bits on. What else about this? Oh yes, I had a comment. Fortunately, I had a couple of comments from people who know these engines, which is really nice. Thank you very much for that. One was, chap mentioned that the nuts on the studs that go down at the front had domed, or acorn nuts, whatever you want to call those. And when he built his engine up with ordinary nuts, they leaked a bit. Well, I only have 5 and there's 6 bolts, and it lists 6, so I've got to find another one. But in the box of bits, from when I took it apart, there are domed nuts, and also in the gasket set there's a whole host of 8mm copper washers, so we'll put them on there just to be on the safe side. What was the other thing? Oh, that little bit that I couldn't find in the parts book, and strangely enough as I looked through it, there's about 5 pages in that parts book that don't have an actual diagram. This little doodad goes in the head there. So that was good to know. Alright, so where was I going? So we'll do those couple of little things, put those nuts on. There's some bolts, sort of nice chrome ones, that are the last fixing bolts that go in the top there. And then we're going to put the pistons on, we're going to put the barrels on, we're going to put the head on, hopefully all this week. And then we'll come to something interesting, which is putting the camshaft in. Because the cam chain is an endless chain. And all the pictures and what have you, and the instructions in the manual talk about splitting it, and then, you know, they have this big thing for re-riveting it. And now, as I mentioned, it's several years ago when I took this apart. And obviously, I took the cam out without splitting the chain, so one would assume that it will go back like that. So that'll be interesting to see when we get to the top. Alright, so let's get stuck in and do these last couple of things in here, because I think that's all I've got to say. Lots of comments, great comments, thank you very much for them, quite a few about the tractor. And let's see, some useful information about the engine and everything, so keep the comments coming, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. So let's get on with the engine. Right, ladies and gentlemen, you're about to witness an historic event. I actually used some common sense, and I went and looked at the other engine I've got, and the dome nuts go there, there, there and there, which is only 4. So I've still got 1 dome nut left over, so I'll have to have a close look at that. So let's I've already put those 4 bolts in. So we will change these. I've annealed the copper washers. Let me just tighten that one up. See, it's like men in instruction books. I must admit, I tend to be that kind of person. I set to, and then when I get stuck, I think, let's have a look at the instructions. But this time I forestalled that problem. Alright, you don't need to see me putting 4 bolts on. That should have been 4 nuts, not 4 bolts. And I found another one looking at the other engine. I didn't see it at first because it was hidden under the starter motor. But this one here is also a domed nut. But according to the parts book, there are 6 domed nuts. As I say, I've only found 5. And oops, that washer off there. Come on now. And of course it's stainless steel, so I can't use the magnet, because this particular grade is not magnetic. Anyway, I'm going to put the other one on here, so I'll bring it back in a minute. Now that's those 5 domed nuts fitted. The parts book says there are 6, but it's a really terrible diagram, so you can't tell where they go. So the next thing we'll do is we will put in the detent. So I've checked with my little torch that the drum is the right way around. I can see the depression. So in here we put that little doodad, then a spring, and then the top cover with a nice new fibre washer. Now all we've got to do is screw that on there. Don't forget we have the spring. There it goes. So that goes in there like that. This hole here is for the neutral switch, the neutral indicator switch. So must be kicking around somewhere, I haven't found it yet, but I might just put a plug in there, because of course we're not going to have any instrumentation on this, so there'll be nowhere for idiot lights, and we don't have any generator coils anyway. So I'll tighten that up, I'll have a quick look for that, and if I find it I'll put it in. I can always steal one off the other engine for now. Then we'll look at, we have a couple of screws to put in here on the mounting for this thing. Then we'll put our pistons on. No, we won't. We'll put our gear change mechanism in, and we'll make sure it goes in all the gears before we start putting the top on. Now we come to the external part here of this mechanism. So this bit goes in there. It actually sort of fits into the drum. On in a second. Like so. With a little locking strip. I was out riding the BSA trials bike. I'm trying to sort of alternate between the BSA and the Scorpa, and for those of you who've seen the couple of videos that I've taken when I've been out in the sections, you'll know I have a load of nice rocky gullies. I love riding them. Well, we had a big storm the other night which nicely filled up the pond, which for those of you who followed that, isn't holding water alright by the looks of it. And it had really moved the rocks around in the gullies. And I came up the big main gully, and there's a little bend in it. And I just come around the bend, and there's a couple of really large flat rocks in there, and the water had gone underneath one and flipped it up so it stood on its end. It was like coming around and meeting a wall. So needless to say, I had to stop and get off and move it. So I'll bend these ears over in a minute. Now the next thing is we put this in here. This is a pivot for another part. And then we've got a spring to put on. All this moving my hands backwards and forwards is so I try to minimise the amount of time my hands are in the way. Sometimes it just can't be helped. Now I've got a feeling that that goes on. There's a shoulder there. Whoops. I thought it went onto this, but I think it must go onto the inner shoulder. Let's have a look. There's a shoulder on the inside as well. Yeah, I guess that's it. And that also, this disc which turn goes into a recess in the drum there. Get that up onto the shoulder. Like so. Now then, we have a spring that goes on. So there like that. That will be easier. I think this is a slot at the top, but at the bottom it's just a little hole. So let's have a look, see. This is going to be one of those things, I bet you, which is, you know, do you put the spring on first? I think we'll put it on that way around. Put that in there. Like that. And we'll get hold of that. Might need a stronger pair of pliers, but then we might not be able to get a bigger pair in. So we might have to rethink. Maybe put the spring on first. Oh no, there we go. So all we need is something to get a grip of it. Did you see that? Are you low enough down? Yeah, you can see the spring in there. Maybe not perfect, but okay, so that's all in there. Now the next thing is this. Let me pull you out a bit, I think. Yeah. And actually I found another gear change lever which has decent splines on it. So that goes in there like that. And then this spring goes on this thing here. And that is going to catch on these pins. Like so. Then on the other side we're going to put a circlip on. And then the gear change lever. So let me put the circlip on and fit this lever. And then we'll give it a go and see. See, at the moment that's in neutral. I can hold the output lever. That's output lever, God. Output shaft, and that turns, so we're in neutral. So let me put that circlip on. Now before the circlip goes on, it's actually an oil seal. So we'll put some oil on this seal. And of course all over myself as well. I had one comment that mentioned, I don't know whether it was tongue-in-cheek, because he was very complimentary. He said it was a sort of museum quality piece, but he said I should clean my hands or wear gloves, and as I pointed out to him, everything cleans up. So anyway, and I love these workshops, you see, where people are putting engines together and there's not a speck of muck anywhere. I don't know how they do it. I try, but now I found a piece of tube. Where's it gone? To knock that on, but it was only going to be on the centre of the seal. So fortunately I just found that in my box of bits. Again, never throw anything away. Goes on that like thusly. And then put our circlip on. I think I need a bigger pair of pliers, don't I? I think I was being a little overly optimistic there. There we go. And as I say, where is it? Oh, I've lost that now. There it is. That one I think will go on there. Tighten up. You find a bolt to go through there. Slight change in the running order. I don't think these are the same splines. They seem to be coarser. They're not gripping. So well, I've got to try and find another lever. I'm not sure if I have another one with metric splines. So we might have to... I don't want to really grip that. I suppose I could down here. It's wasted there. This actually runs in a piece. Hang on, I'll go and get it. It actually runs in a support that bolts to the engine cases, which I have here, but of course I can't get it. I don't know why I did this, because you can't see it, but I gave you a coat of yellow paint. It goes on there like that. Bolts to this engine mounting bolt, not engine mounting bolt, this case bolt, and one here which would have been where the cover for the starter motor is. See, and it gives it some support because it sticks out so far. So we'll put that on and I'll search for another one of these, and it's lunchtime now, so after lunch we'll start with the pistons. Now then, I may not have put this drum back together right. Okay, I've got a pair of mole grips, vice grips, just on that section of the shaft where it's wasted, so it's not going to be a problem. Right, so I'm holding the output shaft neutral. Okay. First. Oh, by the way, that little thing here with the wheel, that's the detent for the gears. The wheel is sprung, as you remember me putting that spring on the top, and it goes in between the pins. So that's what holds it in place in between. So alright, so we're in first. So then we come back up. Where are we? So, yeah, right, we're in first. There's no pin under this, so I can't go any further than first. Right, then we come back. That's it getting into the detent here. And if I hold that shaft, so that's definitely neutral. Right, so now we'll flick as if the gear lever's going up. Second. So now where are we? Third. But now, although it's there, I can't get it to go into the next gear. See, it just doesn't go any further. I've got a pin and a pin, so that'll be fourth and fifth. I'm up against the stop at the bottom. So, bugger. But you know what? The beauty of the horizontally split cases, I can drop the bottom off and have a look at this anytime without disturbing the rest of it. So this may be just because I can't turn everything right. I don't know. Bloody annoying, I know that. See, this drum does not want to turn. I'm at the end of my travel there, which strikes me as very odd. See, there's second. Oh, hang on. That's right, sorry, that was third. There's second. There's the plunger going in. There's neutral. And there's first. Second. Third. Oh! Fourth. Fifth. Whoa! Alright. Now then, I've put it on its engine stand. Man, that had me worried for a minute, because I didn't see how, with that type of drum mechanism, you could put it together wrong. Alright. I've got to rig something up for the cam chain, so let me do that and bring you back. Now we'll put the pistons on. So I put the cylinder base gasket on because it's just a little easier to get it on when you don't have to fight it around too many things. And I had to put it around the cam chain. So I've made up a little thing, you'll be able to see this easier in a minute, just to hold the cam chain up. I was going to warm the pistons up in the oven, but I forgot about it and it would take too long to do it now, so it's getting near the end of the day. I'll just warm them up with a propane torch. Need to warm them up. Well, you've seen me do this often enough. You warm them up so the alloy expands and the hole gets bigger, and then the gudgeon pin will just fit straight in. Or at least that's the plan. There's one circlip in on the blind side of the piston. That is the one towards the middle. So just test it first of all on this side. Alright. Okay, that's it in there. Then we've got to put our circlip in, but I'll let it cool down. And I'll do the exact same thing now for the piston on the other side. As I say, you saw, it didn't take long to warm it up. Actually, it's a map torch, so it's a little bit hotter than propane. Okay. Just push it into the piston. Because this one's going to be awkward. And then put your conrod. There it goes. And of course, make sure they go on the right way up. These have arrows on, but you can tell anyway because the exhaust valve is smaller than the inlet valve. But as I say, we'll let those cool down now, and then I'll put the circlips in. Now I'm going to put the circlip in because even though the piston's still a little bit hot, I want to get done, and as it's sunny, I want to get out and ride. Okay, anything springy has a tendency to shoot off and disappear. And the last thing you want is for them to shoot off and disappear down at the engine. So put something in the crankcase mouth there. This one's on the top because the piston's still hot. But I'll put a parallel underneath it so it can't move. Right, let's see if we can get this in, or are we going to embarrass ourselves? So as you know, there's a little groove in there that this goes in. So put one end in. And then Go on. Get in. Ow, that's hot. There we go. Alright, so I'll go and do the same on the other side. Make sure it's well seated. Now I'm sure everybody has a different way of doing these. That's just my way. And so far I've never had one come out. I shouldn't have said that, should I? Alright, so let me go and do the other side. And then tomorrow probably we'll put the barrels and the head on. Right now it's the next morning. And first thing to mention is for those of you who I know sometimes worry about things, I have remembered to turn the tabs over on those two bolts, and I did oil the small end before I put that in. Now, you see I just knocked together this thing to hold the chain up, which was fine while I was doing the pistons. But it struck me that that wasn't really much good, because when I want to put the cylinders and the heads on, I'm still going to have to hold up the chain somehow. So I made this. Now it's got in the bottom there's like a cross pin, so I've sort of coped that so that'll fit into there, and then on this end there's a pin that will go into the chain and it's tensioned. So we're going to put that in there, and then that way I can drop everything on because it'll be supported in the middle. So let's put it in and then we'll see about doing the head. Not the head, the barrels. And for that we're going to use another home-built tool. Just like we did when we were boys. So that is going to go under there, like that. That will come out. And there we go. I can take this out of the way. Now then, I can get stuck in there, put that in, everything in there will be fine. I put a pin here and that little thing at the bottom because I didn't want to make it any wider, because I've got to be able to get it back out of the slot. So let's get the cylinders ready and we'll put them on. The cam chain has a tensioner at the back, and then at the front it has a guide sort of thing which was worn, so I bought a new one. That goes in there like that. But first of all, it's actually sort of two parts. That goes in there with a new copper washer on it. And another one. Sure, there's a reason for this, but I can't see why there isn't just one bolt that goes through this. But this is the way they did it. Goes in there like that, and that goes in there, and there are two more bolts, again with copper washers. That goes on there like that. Right, so I'm going to oil the bores, and then we're going to use another homemade tool or tools. Just screwing the lid on the polish so it doesn't dry out. Alright, we've had piston ring clamps mentioned in the past. Why don't I use them? Well, I do with twins, and there they are. hang on, let me show you the piston. Now the thing about piston ring clamps on a bike as opposed to a car, with a car you have the piston and the conrod and you put them into the block and then you drop the crank in and you put the end caps on. But of course with a bike they're already in, so you can't have a clamp that just fits around there and then slides off. You've got to be able to take them apart to get them off the conrod. So these we used to make them out of old tin cans, good old Heinz baked beans, that sort of thing. They go on, they clamp around the rings, like so. Then you put a big Jubilee clip on, big hose clamp, and they work like an ordinary one. But then the thing is, you see, when you push them down, they get pushed down, then you can actually take them off. See, it's still not easy, but they will come off. And obviously the clip will just open. So that's done. So they, as you can see, they've got a little lip on them. The big thing with piston rings is the chamfer on the bottom of the bore. That really helps. And this is something you've got to be careful of if you get a rebore done, particularly if you go out a couple of sizes in one go. If the person that's doing your rebore just rebores it, pardon me, and doesn't take any notice to the chamfer at the bottom of the liner, then of course the rebore going out, you're going to end up with less and less chamfer. So check that if you get a rebore. Make sure you still got plenty of chamfer to help it get on the piston. Alright, let me put these clamps on and then I'll bring you back. Now the clamps aren't difficult to put on from the top because of course you can just slide them onto the piston. It's getting them off the bottom that's a little more difficult. The other thing is you've got to tighten them up enough for the piston rings to be clamped in so that cylinder liner will go over them, but not too tight that they won't push down. So I've oiled the cylinders, so let's see if we can get this on. I don't like really long studs, they always bind up. Oh, they went on, not too bad at all. Okay, I've also got to make sure that this rear thing is in there, the tensioner. Okay. Right. That seems to have worked. Everything's in where it should be. I had a, see, this is what I mean, see, that's loose but I can't get it off because of the conrod. Whereas if there was a car one, there wouldn't be anything underneath, you just take it straight off. I think I could do with shortening these clips a little though. And now of course I'm oily. Seeing as this takes a while to do, I'll just take one off for you to see, and then I'll take the other one off. The pistons also were stood on a couple of things to stop them when you're pushing the barrels down, just rotating the crank. Right. There's the first one coming out. And as you saw before, you've got to get it's another reason why I want these to be relatively thin material. With deform, you've got to be able to wangle them out. Okay, let me take the other one out and then we'll come back. Next thing is the cylinder head. New gasket. The gasket will only go on one way because it's got the cutout at the back here, and then there are two dowels, so you can only get it on one way. I've put the little thing in the head. Again, for those of you who notice these things, and that actually, as it turns out, is a little spring for the cam tensioner to press against. So that goes on like that. Then we have three bolts. One 8mm that goes down here by the spark plug, one on the other side, and one round the back. So let me find them and we'll put them in. Well, I'll put those three bolts in so the head's on. Now the main butt studs have big nuts that go on the top of the rocker box. So what I'm going to do is take the cam chain holding tool out and just stick a little piece of tube in to hold it, and then we can make sure we're at the top dead center and everything like that. Let's put that down there, out of there. Now that of course has dropped off the sprocket on the crank, but it doesn't matter because we can time everything up. And what I'm hoping is that with the bearings off, I think that's what I must have done. I think I managed to slide the bearings off and that drops the cam down enough that I can get it in and out. So we'll have a look at that now. And although you didn't see it, before I put the head on, when I got to make sure the pistons were top dead center, and I put a mark on here because it saves me messing about. So let's see about putting the camshaft in correctly timed. Now the camshaft has two marks on it. That's one. That's got to be vertical. Why they didn't put these on the same side, I don't know. And on this side, it's got where's it gone? There it is. On this side, it's got a pop mark there. So when this one is vertical, that pop mark there is level with this, it's horizontal. So they're round at 90 degrees is what I'm saying. Okay, so the threaded end goes on the right. That's where the advanced retard, I think it is, goes if we were putting the ignition on. So let's get ourselves on the sprocket down there. I'll turn. There we are, we're on. So hopefully that is going to go in there like that. There's one mark. Let's get this the right way around. I say this should go in because it came out. Doesn't look as if it's going to. Now, how on earth did I do this? I wonder if I put it in from the other side because of this thing here. Let's try that. Okay, of course what I'm terrified of here is dropping this bloody chain. Aha! Where's all these marks? Where are all these marks? And don't anybody dare give me a comment and say if you just did so and so it would have gone on really easily. I don't want to know. Ta-da! I knew it had to go in. Okay, and then I can put the bearings on the end. Now then. I'm going to have to get this timed right. Now don't forget when we push the tensioner in as well, it's going to change things because that tends to pull it tight on this side. So we want it to be tight on this side so that it's can be slack on that side. It's probably one of those jobs where it would actually be easier to split the chain. But you've got to have the right thing to split it. Okay, well, let me fiddle on with this, and when I've got it right, I'll bring you back. Right, I think we've got it lined up. I've put the bearings on the other side. Put a bit of oil in these. One. Right, now our top dead centre mark is right there. Hang on. We'll press this in, we'll put the adjuster on next. Now with one tooth out, would you believe? Wants to come round this way a little bit. Yeah, our mark here is up there. So again, let me fiddle and I'll bring you back. Right, this reminds me of doing the sunbeam overhead cam actually. You know, the book always says get it this mark vertical or horizontal. And I've just been prattling around with this. I've put a bit of white on so you can see it. Let me tension the chain. I can either get it there, or if I go one link it goes past vertical. So I think that's as close as I can get it. I've got the bearings on, so I'll put the chain tensioner on the back and then we'll see about putting the rocker box on. But I'm afraid you're going to have to wait until next week for that, because it's as much as I can get done this week. So as per usual, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.